Welcome to the HMO Property Podcast, where we connect, educate and inspire the UK's HMO property community. So stop what you're doing, sit back, relax and enjoy the story. What's up, HMO Nation, and welcome to another episode of the HMO Property Podcast with me, Rupert Wallace, in association with hmohub.co.uk. In this episode, we're interviewing successful HMO property investor, Annabel Brewer. Now, Annabel's going to take us on her HMO property investment journey, including the ups, the downs, the highs, and the lows. Now, Annabel's been investing in HMOs for about 18 months now. She's completed and fully refurbed 6 HMO projects. She has 1 in refurb at the moment and a further 2 in legals. She currently houses 30 tenants in just 1 location. So let's jump straight in. Annabel, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. It's very, very nice to be invited on. A pleasure to be here.
Before we get started on your HMO journey, Annabel, tell us about your background all the way up until that point that you started investing in HMO property.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I started my career in the corporate world. So I was on a graduate training scheme with John Lewis, and then I quickly moved into the sales arena, and for all my sins got involved with IT recruitment in the city, and was in that sales type of role for 5 or 6 years. And then after that, I got involved with some selling training and development solutions. And then I realized about 12 years ago that I no longer wanted to work for somebody else and make somebody else some money. And I decided that I wanted to go off on my own and have a complete career change. So I went to Spain and qualified as a personal trainer.
Oh, brilliant.
And I was a personal trainer for about 3 years before I then decided to set up my own gym. So I worked out of Fitness First in central London for 3 years. And then again, I wanted to then stop making money for Fitness First and start making money for myself. So I found a commercial property just near Temple, near the law courts, and which is where I got my first sort of flavour of commercial developments. So I agreed a 10-year lease, and it was a complete shell, and I created a personal training fitness studio in that space, which was 2,000 square foot, and I moved all my clients over from Fitness First. So originally
how did Fitness First like that?
Well, given that they're a massive organisation, I don't think I made too much of an impact on their bottom line. But it was nice to know that I built a great sort of client base, and they were very happy just to walk an extra 5 minutes down the road and come to my own place, which was fantastic. So very rewarding, setting up your own thing from scratch. I got it to a stage where I had a team of about 25 personal trainers, all self-employed, all renting space from me. And I increased the footprint of my gym by an extra 1,000 square foot. So it was 3,000 square foot. And I ran that for about another three years. And then just when my lease was coming to an end, sort of 2-3 years on the lease, I'd had 2 children by that stage. And I decided that I no longer kind of wanted to be involved in the day-to-day running of a small business by myself. I thought I'd taken that project and that business to a level to where it needed to be in order to sell it on. In central London, also finding another kind of premises similar to that is very, very difficult. So you are very limited in terms of getting scale. You're very much reliant on trying to find an affordable premises. So at that point, through my network, I was made a really good offer to buy me out of my business. And I took that offer, and that was about 4 years ago. And that business has gone on to be even more successful with another guy, another one-man band who took it over from me. So great learning experience, setting up a business from scratch. Definitely realised that I could never go and work for somebody else again. Find it hugely rewarding creating something for myself. Obviously, there's lots of highs and lows, but I then sort of took my learnings from property, from that experience, and stumbled across an advert about learning to invest in property the right way. And I went along to that 2-hour seminar.
We'll come on to that. Don't you worry. We'll come on to that. We will get there.
So where I am, so how I kind of after I sold that business, I was sort of looking at other startups that I might be able to get involved with, use my experience and help other entrepreneurs. So I did a couple of contracts for some startups, and then I actually got involved with a packaging startup with a business partner who I met online at an entrepreneur's website. And we now still have we still have sort of the skeletons of that startup running in the background in alliance with some large printers in this country. So that's sort of still running in a very sort of small degree. But he is running that. I'm now 100% 24 hours a day in property.
Got it. From John Lewis to Spain to Temple in London, probably. Yeah. You know, an incredible part of London if people haven't been there.
Yes.
To packaging and now to HMOs. How did you get into the world of HMO property investing?
Well, I first got involved when I was at university because my parents have always been interested in investing in property. And when I moved out of my halls of residence, my parents have been talking to various estate agents in the area up in Leeds, and they decided that because the numbers were so great that they would buy their first investment property up there. And I found the agent, and with the help of my parents and the help of me and the various contacts, we turned it into an HMO for me and my 4 friends to live in. And we lived in that for 2-3 years, and they went on to buying a couple of other properties that were also HMOs. So that was back 20 odd years ago. So I understood that obviously the HMO model works very well. And then I stumbled upon this advert in the Metro for learning how to be a professional property investor, which I went along to. And then I decided that in order to create a business out of property investing, I should invest in my property education. So I joined Legacy Education, and one of the modules on that was HMO. So I did the HMO module and found my investment area, doing putting into play everything that I've learned through that education, and given the financial freedom figure which I needed to achieve, HMOs is the best place to start because you get great cash flow. So it kind of made sense to me to start with HMOs, and here I am now. So I have a portfolio of HMOs.
Brilliant.
Does that answer your question?
It does answer the question, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people stumble into HMOs from various avenues, but I mean, you have such obviously an entrepreneurial spark, and when you see something that appears to be fabulous, and then you qualify it by doing the education, no wonder you continued with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it made perfect sense to me. I mean, the way we're taught, you when you're starting up your first investment your property portfolio, you're usually best to start with your little baby buy-to-lets, then your multi-lets, and then your HMOs. But because of the financial freedom figure that I needed, the cash flow for buy-to-lets was nowhere near what I needed it to be. In order to achieve that as quickly as possible, to replace the salary, obviously, that I gave up when I sold my fitness business and my packaging, etc. So HMOs made the most sense to me, but I wouldn't have got into HMOs had I not done the education, got the training, be part of a network of people, because HMOs, as you know, is extremely complex. Huge amounts of legislation, and people can get caught out by not following the correct process. and putting the correct processes in place, and obviously working with the right people, so that you remain compliant and as a landlord, and try and obviously eliminate the possibilities of making any mistakes, because they can be very expensive mistakes if you're caught by the county for not doing things correctly. So yeah.
Was there anything holding you back, Annabel, from getting into HMOs?
So I definitely say, like all property investors, the limiting factor is always the investment that you've got available. So I had a small amount of money that I had from selling my business. So I knew I had that to start getting my first deposit. But really, that for me was a huge hurdle, because I knew I basically needed to go out and raise money. So again, through the education that I with Legacy Education, they taught me how to go out and raise money. So I've been out there networking, talking to my friends, my family, putting finance documents together, and making sure that obviously I'm raising the money at the same time as I'm buying the HMOs, because HMOs is a heavy investment up front. Because the HMOs I'm buying, the refurb is 90,000. So every time I'm refurbing, that's what I have to find. So I'm always under that pressure that, got to keep my pipeline of investors coming in so that I can continue to get scale. So again, it's following the processes, the HMO process and the raising funds process, in order to marry the two together.
Got it. Annabel, tell us about your very first HMO property deal.
So that was July last year, and I actually did two at the same time. So it was father and son who lived opposite each other, and an investor I met through my network. For whatever reason, it wasn't the right time for him to actually take these two projects on. So thankfully, they came to me. So a bit of luck as well, and they were in Coventry, near the university, purely for students. So they were. I'll tell you about one of the two, but it's essentially they were identical. And do you want to know the purchase price and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Give us the nitty gritty.
Okay, the purchase price was 145,000. I put a 75% loan to value mortgage on that. And then I basically it's a 2-bed buy to let, and the business model is turning into a 5 double ensuite HMO. So it's a fully back to brick renovation, in order to be able to get the 2 extra rooms in the loft. So we have to drop the floors to get the extra headspace, put dormer windows in, etc. So we're going fully back to brick, and then just creating something absolutely brand new from scratch. So 145,000 was the purchase price, 90,000 was the refurb. It's a 12-week refurb, working with an HMO specialist in the area, Red Bricks Construction. And they are also property investors. So given that they were aware that I was a new property investor, they kind of held my hand through the process, which was really great. So I have them helping me. I have my Legacy Alliance Education helping me. And so it was quite stressful, because obviously it's a lot of money. But I felt like I was learning a lot at the same time, and alleviating the mistakes by working with great people. So 90,000 in, they set me up, they recommended the letting agent that I should use. And so they came to have a look at the property, and they said they were happy to use the photos that they already had from one of their other similar builds. And so they managed to get me a tenant pretty much straight away. The 5 students, they signed the agreement off plan, which was fantastic. So they actually then moved in the September. So 3 months after the build started, which was amazing. The value went up to 280,000. So I'm leaving about 40,000 in the deal. But the cash flow is, I'm getting £2,600 a month in rent. The ROI is about 32%. So I expect to get all my money out in 2 years, which is fantastic. So, and I did that times 2. So with the mother and son properties,
Great.
similar
So
figures.
that's your first deal. You've made 50 grand's worth of equity in each one of those. So
Yep.
100 grand's worth of equity. And you're probably netting over £1,000 a month net cash flow, I would imagine, after any lending costs on
Yep.
each one.
About 1,300 to be specific. To be precise.
We're
Yes.
happy. We're happy with specific if it's going up for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
£1,300 a month for each property.
Mm-hmm.
They sound like pretty good deals for you, especially for your first one.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I was really, really pleased. So I followed again everything that I've learned, looked at all my comparables, talked to as many people as I could, other investors in the area. I mean, obviously, when you're first starting, there's an element of risk because you haven't done it before. But it was a calculated risk from my perspective, and the numbers literally married up with all the comparables that I had in the area. Which was great. It was nice to know that what I was doing was basically coming to a great result. So I was very happy, very happy.
I'm sure you were.
Yes.
Annabel, next up, we've got a question for you about how HMO investing has actually changed your life since you started.
It has changed my life because I've become a bit obsessive with it. So I enjoy finding new opportunities. I enjoy working with the people that I've found within my network, within my power team. I find it hugely challenging, but hugely rewarding. So it's changed my life in terms of the monthly cash flow that it gives me. It's given me more choice. I will continue to invest in HMOs because of what it gives me. Obviously, there are pitfalls, there are highs and lows, but it's definitely given me a huge sense of sort of purpose and satisfaction. And it's challenging at the same time. So it kind of brings together all kinds of different skills which you need as an entrepreneur and a property investor. Which is what I enjoy.
Sounds pretty life-changing to me.
Very definitely, very definitely.
Next up, Annabel, what's your favourite part of HMO property investing?
Definitely firstly, the people that I work with, so my power team, and secondly, creating, the expression we use is a beautiful swan from an ugly duckling. The properties that I'm buying are very, they're just very normal, bog standard 2-bed buy-to-lets. A lot of the people that I'm buying them off have, lived in the properties their entire lives, have not done any refurbishments on them, no decoration. So obviously the photos that I take at the start are, pretty hideous, let me say, not necessarily to the taste I would have gone with. And then I'm creating something that's really what I think is beautiful. All the furniture is handmade from reconstituted scaffolding, for example. And I work with a designer because I'm quite creative. I did a creative-based degree, so I like the interiors and making something look really beautiful, and something that I'm proud of, and something that I would be happy to move and live in myself. It gives me a huge amount of satisfaction.
Brilliant, love it. Yeah. Good to hear some passion. In your voice.
Definitely.
Annabel, we talked about your past. Before we move on to your present and your future plans in HMO property, let's take a minute to thank our sponsors.
Are you looking for an effortless HMO mortgage experience? If that's a yes, there's only one place to go: www.thehmomortgagebroker.co.uk, the UK's #1 specialist HMO mortgage broker. They're so specialised that they don't do anything else. HMO mortgages, HMO remortgages, and HMO bridging. That's it. They have access to every HMO lender out there, and even some exclusive products not available to other brokers. With lightning fast service and A1 communication, they're easily the best HMO broker in town. So to experience HMO lending made easy, go to www.thehmomortgagebroker.co.uk today.
Annabel, fast forwarding to the current day, go into a bit more detail about your HMO portfolio.
Okay, so currently to date, I have 6 fully functioning HMOs, all of which I did the same thing. They were 2-bed buy-to-lets. I took them all back to brick. Created 5 double en suites in each of them. They're all within about 200, 300 metre walk of each other. I've used the same build team. All my power team's been exact the same. So it's very much a sort of a cookie cutter approach. And they're all the tenants, they've all moved in for the next academic year. They're all very happy. So I've got 6 fully functioning. I've got 2 2-bed buy-to-lets that I've just recently completed on last week. And I am starting the demolition as we speak of both of them, which will be another 12-week build. I've already got my letting agent on the case with getting students lined up for the following academic year. Some students come in January, but the majority of them come in the September. So if I don't get the students in the interim, I will do corporate let just to fill in that kind of time between now and the next academic year. So that's those 2. And then I've got another one which I will be completing on in the next couple of months, which is again exactly the same thing. 2-bed terrace house, which I'll be converting to 5 double en suites, taking fully back to brick. The other thing I also haven't mentioned is that during that process of building my network and investing in these kind of HMOs, I've also set up with another 2 investors, and we bought a larger property in the Nuneaton area it was a semi-detached house, and we have converted that into 8-bed HMO. And we've actually rented that to a care provider who provide homes for children in care, 14 to 17-year-old children. So we finished that project, which was, again, it wasn't fully back to brick because the house was already the right dimensions. The rooms were already the right size. The layout, the floor plan was right for what that care provider wanted. But it's a different usage. So it was C2 use for care. So I learned a lot through that process, other things that are needed for that kind of HMO, just additional things that need to be put in there, such as disabled facilities, wider doorways, soundproofing, all of that kind of thing. Just to make it compliant with
it's
with
a slightly different kettle of fish. It's
slightly
very
different.
similar, but
Yes. But not quite as straightforward as the student by HMOs that I've got. But again, great learning experience. We've got them in there for the next 10 years on a fully insured and repairing lease. We're housing, vulnerable children, which is great. So it's great to be able to do another different type of HMO in a different area, in a different sort of for a different sector of people. And so the numbers on that we bought for 250. 60 grand refurb, and we just had a commercial valuation on it for 560, based on obviously the rental. So we're very happy with that, and the care provider wants us to go and find some more. So I'll be continuing my HMO journey with them over the next sort of 18 months as well. They want another 4 or 5 properties in a similar space. So that's kind of that's what my HMO property portfolio is to date.
Great. Tell us about your single best one out of your portfolio. What's your best HMO investment today? And it doesn't have to be for the number.
So let me think about it. I would say probably the one that I've literally just finished. I had the photographer round last week, and it's the nearest one to the university. So the students have already moved in. I found it. When I purchased it, I didn't realise it's actually as big as it is. So we managed to slightly reconfigure the rooms in a slightly different way, so that we can get an extra sort of bathroom out the back. It's a very long building, and we managed to. The rooms are just a little bit bigger than all my others. I got it for a pretty good purchase price, even though it's right next to university. I haven't gone through the refinance process of it yet, but I would expect it to be. Hopefully 285 would be great. And the reason why I like it so much is because the dimensions, I got way more than I was expecting, but also the interior, we've gone for slightly different look and feel to it. So we've put wooden cladding on the walls as a feature wall in the living room, which just is kind of really modern, and the kind of urban look is very in at the moment. So I've gone with the same kind of scaffolding, handmade furniture, but we've just added a few extra features. The lighting that we've used, I've just kind of stumbled upon some things that I just think are really beautiful, and I'm really excited about the end finish of it. So we've just managed to put a few extra bits and pieces into it that we haven't been able to put into the other properties. So interior wise, I think it just looks really sharp. So I think it's taken me project 6 to kind of what I think really nail it. I don't think I could have bettered that one, so I'm really proud of that one.
Good. Well, we'll have to do a feature on that one on HMO Hub.
Yes, I can send you some pictures.
That would be brilliant. Next up, Annabel, tell us about one significant mistake that you've made in your HMO business that by sharing you might help others avoid.
Yes. Okay. So my biggest mistake was not on one of my refurbs. I didn't do because my investment area is in the Midlands and I live in London. Some of the time when my builders are starting the refurbs, they kind of start before me being able to knock on the neighbour's door, go, hi, here's my name, this is my name, this is what I'm doing. Just want to make you aware that there is going to be some noise, and just kind of building the relationship with the neighbours. Because obviously they've got 12 weeks of noise and disruption and all the rest of it. So my biggest mistake was, and it was a bit unlucky as well, I just didn't get that opportunity to build rapport with one of my neighbours. And also I didn't get an opportunity to take some photos of what was there beforehand. And she basically throughout the whole project has been a total nightmare. Like, she's put a little camera outside her living room window, and anytime there's any element of noise, or the builder has left a tool outside her house, or there's been rubbish that's been put on the skip, even though it's nothing to do with us, we have problems with fly tipping there, and she's just made the whole thing really, really difficult. And so it's been quite a stressful, quite a painful process, and it's been difficult for me because she's been phoning me up left, right, and centre. She's been giving the builders a hard time. She's just been very unreasonable. And so, you know, we've had delays because she's called the council for this, that, and the other. And so she's been spreading rumours about me being an unpleasant individual to various neighbours. Which is again just really unfortunate, and has kind of made me feel, you know, quite sad, because I like to, you know, get on with my neighbours, because, you know, we want to have a harmonious experience. So my biggest regret is not following my process and just saying to my builder, breakdown in communication with my builder as well, that just before we start the development and the demolition process, I need, you know, a week or maybe 2 weeks just to build that rapport with them, because it is a people business, and, you know, they're under the impression that, you know, I'm some bigwig London investor, blah blah blah. You know, and only when you're face to face with people building those relationships do you kind of break down those perceptions. So that for me is my biggest learn, because you've got to get on with people, and it's the only way, you know, people work with you and you build those relationships.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're not alone in that, and it's a big people game. So and that's the way you have to approach it.
And and the moment that you kind of you know, you don't keep your eye on the ball with these kind of details, that's when problems come up and sting you. You know, it's just very, very silly. It didn't need to happen. But, you know, I've learned my mistake, and, you know, every time now I will always knock on both sides of the property, make sure, you know, go and have a cup of tea, take a box of biscuits, etc., and build that rapport. So that's my biggest advice to people is you've got to get on with the people around you, otherwise your life's going to be hard work, stressful, painful, and all the rest of it.
Biscuits, great idea.
Biscuits, yes, biscuits.
Annabel, next up, tell us about your HMO portfolio plans for the next 12 months.
Yeah. So I think what I'm currently in the process of looking for a new investment area to start experimenting with other strategies. I want to do a bit more on the commercial side. So some like my care home, I would like to kind of do a bit more of that. I'm very passionate about the sort of the care sector. So I'd like to do that more, and I've built quite a lot of contacts within the care space. So providing more larger HMOs for that kind of that space, and looking more into sort of commercial developments, commercial to residential stuff, and finding another sort of HMO investment area that works well for me based on geography, based on the numbers. So looking for sort of other student areas. So I'm just going through my sort of research process at the moment, because I think 9-10 HMOs in one area is probably enough for me right now. And diversification is really important, that we're always taught within property investing. So it's kind of branching out and getting some HMOs elsewhere is going to be kind of my next sort of 2 to 5 year plan. And then, I'm looking at somewhere down the line, maybe analysing some HMO portfolios, because obviously lots and lots of landlords are ditching a lot of their portfolios right now with all the changes in regulations, etc. So a lot of my contacts have said they haven't seen so many portfolios coming onto the market ever before. So, analysing those kind of things and seeing if I can find an HMO portfolio which might work for me. So just building more, getting more properties, getting more cash flow, and helping young people who are starting, well, not necessarily young, old, new property investors, happy to sort of help as well, because I get a huge buzz out of helping other people on their journey.
Great.
I hope that answers your question.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it's going to be a good 12 months for you.
Indeed. It's always learning, always building, always developing myself.
Annabel, 2 questions now.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give any current HMO investors, given the market conditions?
Yep. And
also, what advice would you give any people who are looking to get into HMO property for the very first time?
So my advice to anyone looking to getting into HMOs for the very first time is make sure you, and it's kind of similar to the other property investors are looking at sort of starting in HMOs as well. It's very much know your area, learn your area, make sure there is demand, qualified demand for that particular strategy in that kind of area. So very, very important. Secondly is make sure the numbers work. So whatever you've decided your acceptable return on investment is, whether it's 20%, 25%, 30%, make sure that you've done the figures, you know them inside out, you've got your comparables, so that you don't want to leave anything to chance. So the numbers have to work. And the third thing is make sure you work with fantastic people. You are only as good as the team around you, so you have to work with the right power team. You can't do it on your own. You can't be an island in the property world. You have to be part of a community. So those are the 3 most important things: know your strategy, know your area, know your figures, and build a great power team.
Great. Annabel, before we sign off, we'd like you to recommend one great HMO resource or business book. Then let HMO Nation know how they can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
That's a very difficult question. I do tend to read quite a lot more sort of self-development books. What I can recommend, that the book that has changed my life, which got me into property investing, not necessarily HMO investing, but property investing, is the Rich Dad book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book changed my life. I read it and I went, well, this is, property is for me. And then through my journey of learning, I then got into HMOs. So I would say that book was the life-changing, the light bulb moment for me, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. So yeah, that's the book I would recommend.
Great. And how about if HMO Nation want to connect with you? How can they do that?
They can connect with me through all the numerous amount of communication chains that we have these days. So email, text message, phone number, very welcome to call me, and I'll be happy to, work with them, answer any questions.
Do you have a website?
I don't have a website yet. I haven't quite got onto that yet. It's in my plan for the next 12 to 18 months. I'm not very good with that element. I've got to find a web designer first.
Okay, Annabel, thanks for sharing your journey. We salute you. Let's get an HMO high five.
Thank you very much, Rupert. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
All right, look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks,
Definitely.
Annabel.
Bye now.
Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed this and want more informational, educational and inspirational HMO property content, then please hit the subscribe button and give us a like. See you next time.